It started with a scream that no one heard. Not because it was quiet, but because the storm swallowed it. Rain hammered the small town of Briar Ridge that night, the kind of rain that made the streetlights flicker and the power lines moan. But even the storm couldn't wash away what happened on November 3, 1993, the night 19-year-old Emily Carter disappeared without a trace. For 30 years, her case sat in a dusty cabinet, labeled unsolved. Until one small discovery, 3 decades later, blew the entire investigation wide open. And exposed a truth darker than anyone in Briar Ridge could have imagined. A truth that was never supposed to be found. Emily Carter wasn't the kind of girl who vanished. Everyone said that. She was a college freshman, studying early childhood education. Sweet. Artistic. The kind of person who wrote birthday cards for neighbors and helped elderly residents carry groceries. She had no enemies. No drama. No history of running away. Her mother, Linda Carter, always said, Emily kept the peace everywhere she went. She was a light. A good one. But lights don't just go out. Not without someone turning the switch. On the night she disappeared, Emily had been working her usual late shift at Fiona's Diner, small, pink neon sign, the kind of place where everyone knew your order. She clocked out at 10:14 p.m., exchanged a few jokes with the cook, tied her jacket tight around her shoulders, and stepped out into the storm. The walk home was only 9 minutes. But Emily never arrived. Her backpack was later found lying in a ditch along Magnolia Road, soaked, muddy, and unzipped, as if someone had yanked it open violently. The only thing missing from inside? Her sketchbook. Briar Ridge police launched a search immediately. The sheriff at the time, Sheriff Thomas Briggs, promised the town swift answers. He delivered none. Briggs insisted it was a runaway case, despite her parents' desperate pleas. He ignored early leads, failed to secure evidence properly, and made no public alerts. By the time the state police stepped in, the trail was cold. Witnesses forgotten. Footprints washed away. Storm damage everywhere. Still, a few clues survived. A muddy footprint near the ditch. Tire tracks leading off Magnolia Road. A torn piece of denim that didn't match Emily's clothing. And a single silver ring found in the grass. But without DNA databases or digital tracing, the case stalled. Emily Carter's disappearance soon morphed into a ghost story told at slumber parties. The girl who vanished in the rain. The road that swallowed her. Life moved on. For everyone except Emily's family. Briar Ridge looked picturesque on postcards. White fences. Old barns. Autumn leaves. But beneath the charm lay tension, unspoken, but ever-present. Especially surrounding Sheriff Briggs. Rumors swirled for years that he covered up cases involving certain untouchable residents, wealthy landowners, influential businessmen, old families with sway. The Carters always believed Emily's case was one of those buried secrets. They were right. But proof didn't come until 2023. 30 years after Emily vanished, Detective Maya Hawkins, a rising star with the Cold Case Division, took an interest in the file. She wasn't from Briar Ridge. She wasn't influenced by its politics. And she had a reputation for turning hopeless cases into headlines. When she opened Emily's folder, she found missing interviews, lost reports, undocumented evidence, and Sheriff Briggs's signature everywhere. Hawkins requested the physical box containing all old evidence. Inside, she noticed something odd. The silver ring, tagged, bagged, and sealed in 1993, wasn't the one photographed in the original crime scene images. Someone had swapped it. And not for a similar one, but for a completely different ring. A ring engraved on the inside with a set of initials. TB. Thomas Briggs. The sheriff himself. Detective Hawkins didn't believe in coincidences. She reopened the investigation from scratch, interviewing townspeople who had long given up hope of answers. One woman came forward, Rita Coleman, then 22, now living outside town. She had been driving home the night of the storm. And she saw something. A truck. Parked on Magnolia Road. The driver? A man in uniform. At the time, she assumed it was the sheriff helping someone. But now, 3 decades later, that detail chilled her. Sheriff Briggs always claimed he was home that night. And his logs, written in his own handwriting, supported that claim. Handwritten logs he could have faked. Detective Hawkins expanded her search. She looked for patterns, people who left town abruptly after Emily vanished. One name stood out. Daniel Reeves, age 24 at the time, a local handyman with a criminal record for stalking. He moved to Arkansas weeks after Emily disappeared. Another name emerged. Lucas Hale, the wealthy son of land developer Richard Hale, the most powerful man in Briar Ridge. Lucas had been seen arguing with Emily at the diner 2 days before she vanished. And then there was Sheriff Briggs. 3 suspects. All connected. All protected. But Hawkins needed evidence, not theories. So she did something no investigator had ever done. She tracked down Emily's old sketchbook. A retired librarian contacted Hawkins, saying she found something years ago that she felt too scared to hand over. Inside her attic was a weathered sketchbook with Emily Carter's handwriting on the first page. Emily had written, "If anything happens to me, look inside the last drawing." The final page showed a charcoal sketch of a man standing beside a truck on Magnolia Road. The man's silhouette was unmistakable. His posture, his profile, his hat. It was Sheriff Thomas Briggs. And drawn in the corner of the sketch, a silver ring. Emily saw her killer before she died. Detective Hawkins visited Briggs, now 74, living in a quiet farmhouse outside town. When she mentioned the ring, the old man stiffened. When she showed him the sketchbook, his hands shook. But when she asked where he was the night Emily vanished, his answer was too fast. Too rehearsed. Before she left, Briggs said something strange. "Some cases should stay buried, detective. For your own good." Hawkins didn't flinch. But she knew one thing. Briggs was hiding more than just the truth. DNA testing on the old evidence, now using modern technology, produced results within weeks. The muddy footprint belonged to a size 11 work boot sold only in one local store, a store where Daniel Reeves had an account. The torn denim matched jeans purchased by Lucas Hale 2 weeks before the disappearance. And the silver ring? It carried traces of blood not belonging to Emily, but to an unidentified male. Hawkins ordered a covert exhumation of Briggs's late brother, who died mysteriously in 1994. DNA match. The blood belonged to Briggs's brother, meaning someone else had been at the scene. Someone injured. Someone Briggs protected. The web was expanding. But then, something happened that no one expected. During a construction project near Magnolia Road, workers unearthed human remains, female, young, and hidden in a shallow grave. Tests confirmed what everyone feared. It was Emily Carter. She had not run away. She had not been taken far. She had been buried just a mile from her home. The autopsy revealed defensive wounds, blunt force trauma, and traces of motor oil matching the type used in Sheriff Briggs's department vehicles. But the biggest discovery? Skin cells under Emily's fingernails. Fresh enough to extract a partial DNA profile. Fresh enough to identify her killer. The results shocked everyone. Emily Carter scratched more than one attacker. She scratched two. DNA results implicated Daniel Reeves, the handyman with a past. Lucas Hale, the wealthy landowner's son. Both had lied for 30 years. Both had been protected. But the final twist destroyed the town's last illusion. Sheriff Briggs didn't kill Emily. He covered it up. Protected the men responsible. Buried evidence. Misled investigators. Swapped the ring. Altered logs. And ensured the case went cold. The truth was devastating. Emily Carter had been murdered by 2 men. And the sheriff helped them get away with it. Under mounting pressure, the now elderly Daniel Reeves finally cracked. In a trembling voice, he confessed. Lucas Hale attacked Emily first. Emily fought back, scratching both men. Daniel tried to pull Lucas off her but joined the assault when she tried to escape. Emily died during the struggle. Lucas called Sheriff Briggs, who arrived, panicked, and helped hide the body. He ended with, "I still hear her screaming. Every night." 30 years later. Lucas Hale was arrested the next morning. Sheriff Briggs was taken into custody days later, charged with obstruction, evidence tampering, and conspiracy. The town of Briar Ridge went silent. But the case wasn't over. Not even close. Detective Hawkins found something in Briggs's farmhouse. Something he tried to burn before he was arrested. A box. Inside were dozens of photos, taken secretly, from afar. Photos of young women around Briar Ridge. Walking home. Working at the diner. Jogging in the park. Emily wasn't his only obsession. She was one of many. And there was something else in the box. A map. Locations marked in red. Dates written beside them. And a final note. One day they'll all know the truth. But the map didn't match any known crime scenes. And the dates? They didn't match Emily's disappearance. Detective Hawkins realized something horrifying. The map pointed to places where other girls vanished over the last 40 years, cases dismissed, forgotten, or written off as runaways. Emily Carter's case wasn't an isolated tragedy. It was the first thread in a much darker tapestry. A pattern that spanned decades. A pattern Briggs knew. A pattern someone else continued. 2 months after Briggs's arrest, something unexpected happened. A letter arrived at the Cold Case Division. No return address. No fingerprints. Inside was a single Polaroid photograph. It showed a girl, maybe 17, standing on Magnolia Road. Terrified. Wet from the rain. Looking exactly like Emily Carter. On the back was a handwritten message. "You closed the wrong case." Detective Hawkins froze. Because the date on the photo, the timestamp printed along the bottom edge, read October 12, 2023. 30 years after Emily vanished. Someone was recreating the crime. Or copying it. Or continuing it. The Carter case was solved. But the story wasn't over. Not even close. As Hawkins stared at the photo, one chilling realization settled over her. Emily's killer didn't work alone. Someone else was still out there. Watching. Waiting. And hunting. And the next victim had already been chosen. Hawkins rushed the Polaroid to the digital forensics lab. The technician, Avery No, analyzed it frame by frame. The timestamp isn't edited, Avery said. The ink aging is consistent with the last 48 hours. So it's real, Hawkins muttered. Not just real, Avery added. Look at the reflection in her eyes. He zoomed in slowly. In the girl's pupils, two tiny shapes appeared, one tall, one shorter. Silhouettes. Standing a foot away from her. Watching. One of them held a camera. Hawkins felt her stomach twist. Can you enhance it? Avery tried, but the image broke into digital noise. Hawkins forced herself to breathe. Okay. Let's go back to the location. Magnolia Road. Avery hesitated. You should see this first. He pulled up rainfall reports. It didn't rain last night, he said quietly. Hawkins blinked. But she's drenched. Avery nodded. That Polaroid. It wasn't taken last night. A long silence. Then when? Hawkins whispered. Avery looked up, face pale. It was taken while she was still alive. During the storm. Hawkins' breath caught. You mean? Yeah, Avery said. This photo wasn't staged. It wasn't reproduced. It was taken in real time during her abduction. But Emily disappeared in 1993. Avery swallowed. This picture isn't of Emily. Hawkins spread the Polaroid on the table alongside missing persons reports from the last 2 weeks. One stood out like a flare in the dark. Jessica Lorne, age 17, missing for 2 days. Vanished after a late shift at the grocery store. No leads. No suspects. No media attention yet. Jessica's school photo matched the Polaroid almost exactly. Hawkins whispered, this is her. Jessica Lorne wasn't a copy of Emily. She was the next girl in a pattern spanning decades. And someone wanted the police to know it. Hawkins returned to the Carter evidence box. The map she found in Briggs's farmhouse, red X marks across 40 years, now made even more sense. It wasn't created by Briggs. His handwriting didn't match. The pressure marks on the paper were different. Someone else tracked those disappearances. Someone still active. Someone who had watched every case develop. Someone who knew police patterns. Someone who studied Emily's murder so closely. They could recreate it perfectly. Hawkins whispered, this isn't a copycat. Then she said the part that chilled her. This is the original killer's successor. Hawkins re-interviewed Daniel Reeves in prison. His guilt was clear. His confession devastating. But something he said echoed now in Hawkins' mind. One day, someone else will come looking. Lucas wasn't the only one who liked watching people disappear. At the time, she assumed he meant Lucas Hale. But now, who else? She demanded. Reeves's eyes darted to the guard. I said too much already. Jessica Lorne is missing, Hawkins pressed. We found a Polaroid. Someone is reenacting Emily's murder. Reeves, who's doing this? His lips trembled. His name was never in your files. Then give it to me. Reeves shook his head violently. He's worse than Lucas. Worse than Briggs. He's been waiting for this moment. Name. Hawkins snapped. Reeves finally whispered. Noah Hale. The room froze. Lucas Hale's younger brother. Untouched. Unquestioned. Invisible in the investigation. A perfect ghost. Noah Hale, age 49. Never arrested. Never interviewed. Never suspected. Because in 1993, he was only 12 years old. Too young to be considered involved. But Hawkins dug deeper. Noah was obsessed with crime novels as a teen. Known for following Emily Carter around town. Present at Lucas's parties. Gifted at mimicking voices and forging notes. Brought into therapy 3 months after Emily's death for violent drawings. And most disturbing of all, records showed Noah was the one who found Lucas's bloodstained jeans after the murder. His only statement at the time? I thought they were just dirty. But the therapist's note from November 1993 told another story. Noah speaks about Emily Carter constantly. Says he saw something he can never tell. Shows signs of idolizing his older brother. Terrifying fixation. Hawkins exhaled shakily. Noah Hale grew up in the shadow of a murderer. And shadows don't just disappear. They learn. They wait. They continue. Hawkins requested a warrant for Noah Hale's property, an old farmhouse on the edge of Briar Ridge. When she and the team arrived, the front door was unlocked. A sickening sign. Inside, the house was spotless. Too spotless. like someone cleaned it for guests. In the living room were cameras mounted everywhere, angled toward the couch, hallway, and back door. "Someone's watching us," Briggs muttered. "No," Hawkins said. Someone was watching her victims. The basement door was locked. Reinforced. New hinges. Heavy. A padlock protected with a fresh chain. Hawkins' stomach dropped. "Cut it." Bolt cutters snapped. The lock fell. They opened the basement door and froze. Inside were rows of shelves lined with identical sketchbooks. All filled with drawings. Not landscapes. Not cartoons. Girls. Dozens of them. Drawn in charcoal. Their faces twisted in fear. Their last known outfits recreated perfectly. Their hair wet. Rain pouring behind them. Just like Emily. Just like Jessica. Hawkins whispered. "This is where he practiced their deaths." Briggs swallowed hard. "And all these girls, are they real?" Hawkins flipped through sketches. Some names she recognized, girls from missing persons cases across 3 decades. But others were new. Recent. Including Jessica Lorne. Behind the sketchbook shelf, they found a door. Hawkins braced herself and pushed it open. Inside was a chair bolted to the floor. Soft lighting. A Polaroid camera on a tripod. A tarp on the ground. Handcuffs chained to the walls. A set. A stage. A place built to recreate Emily Carter's final moments. Jessica had been here. On a small desk was a journal. The first line. "Lucas showed me how. Now I finish what he started." The second. "Briggs protected my brother. Now someone must protect me." And the third, written in fresh ink. "Jessica is almost ready." Hawkins felt heat rise behind her eyes. Jessica was alive. But not for long. A map was pinned to the wall. Red lines traced through the forest to an abandoned hunting lodge owned by the Hale family. It was isolated. No cell service. No neighbors. Hawkins grabbed her gear. "We move. Now." The team arrived at the lodge just after sunset. The forest was silent. Too silent. Like everything was waiting. Inside, the lodge was empty. Except. Briggs shouted, "Detective, over here." He pointed to a cellar door. Padlocked. But faint crying came from below. Hawkins' pulse spiked. "Jessica." The team pried the lock. The cellar was freezing. Dark. Smelled of damp earth. Jessica sat in the corner, wrists bruised, hair tangled, clothes soaked. But she was alive. When she saw Hawkins, she sobbed. "He said I reminded him of her," Jessica whispered. "He said he chose me because I look like the girl they all forgot." "Where is he?" Hawkins demanded. Jessica's eyes filled with terror. "He said he was coming back. He said he had one more photograph to take." Briggs froze. "So where is he now?" A slow creak emerged from above. The front door. Footsteps. Heavy. Confident. A voice drifted down the stairs. Calm. Smooth. "You're too late, detective." Hawkins stepped out of the cellar, gun drawn. Noah Hale stood in the center of the lodge. Tall. Calm. Almost elegant in his stillness. Blue gloves. Polaroid camera hanging from his neck. A smile that didn't reach his eyes. "You've been following my work," he said softly. "That's flattering." Hawkins didn't blink. "You kidnapped Jessica Lorne." "I rescued her," he corrected. "From being invisible. Forgotten. Just like Emily." "You killed Emily?" He laughed. A chilling, hollow sound. "Oh no, detective. I never touched Emily. My brother and Reeves did that. But I learned from them. I studied everything. Emily deserved a witness. Someone who appreciated her final moments." Hawkins gripped her gun tighter. "You murdered at least 8 girls." Noah raised a finger. "Slow down. I didn't murder anyone. I immortalized them. In drawings, in photographs, in stories your department was too incompetent to uncover. You killed them. I perfected what Lucas started." Hawkins' stomach twisted. "So you're the real mastermind?" "No," Noah said gently. "I'm the artist." He stepped closer, raising the Polaroid camera. "And you, detective. You're my final piece." He clicked the shutter. A flash blinded her. And then, he ran. Hawkins sprinted after him into the woods. Branches whipped her face. The forest floor shook under their feet. Noah moved fast, too fast for a man his age. He knew these woods intimately. Every turn. Every hill. Every hiding place. A true hunter. He reached the cliffs overlooking Briar Ridge. Turned. Smiling. "You can't stop the story," he said. "Stories outlive every detective. Every victim." Hawkins raised her gun. This story ends tonight. Noah tilted his head. You won't shoot me. Why not? Because then you'll never know where the others are buried. Her eyes went wide. Others? Noah grinned. Oh yes, detective. Emily wasn't the first. Jessica wasn't the last. I started long before Lucas died. His smile widened. And you will never find them. Hawkins exhaled. Funny. She reached into her pocket. Pulled out her recorder. Flashing red light. His face dropped. I didn't need you alive, Hawkins said. I just needed you talking. Noah lunged for her. Hawkins fired. One shot. Noah collapsed backward over the cliff edge. Silence. Justice delivered. Recovery crews found Noah Hale's body at the bottom of the ravine. The evidence in his home was overwhelming. Jessica Lauren's fingerprints. Dozens of sketches of abducted girls. A journal detailing murders going back 20 years. A map with burial sites. Hawkins led teams to each X mark. By the end of the week, 5 sets of remains were recovered. Families finally received answers. Briar Ridge held a memorial service for all the victims, Emily Carter's picture placed at the center. Daniel Reeves and Lucas Hale faced new additional charges for their original crimes. Sheriff Briggs died awaiting trial. The Hale family empire collapsed under lawsuits and public outrage. And Jessica Lauren? She survived. Testified bravely. And told the world what Hawkins had done. The investigation ended with the chief of police declaring, "This is the greatest justice Briar Ridge has ever seen." But for Hawkins, it wasn't over. Not yet. The night after the memorial, Hawkins returned home exhausted. She dropped her keys on the counter. Took off her coat. Sat on the couch. But something was wrong. Her window was open. And on her coffee table sat a Polaroid camera. Her heart stopped. She approached slowly. Inside the camera was one undeveloped photo. Her hands shook as she pulled it out. A message was written on the back in perfect cursive. Noah wasn't the only student. The photo developed slowly, fading into view. A figure, standing in the woods, face hidden, holding a map. The same map from Briggs's farmhouse. Hawkins' blood ran cold. Another voice existed in the shadows. And justice for the victims.